He's a national champion, former sixth man of the year in the NBA, two-time NBA All-Star, Kansas Stallion, now head coach of Wake Forest basketball. Danny Manning here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, Coach?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Do you ever think you'd see the day that we would have this discussion, maybe, that the Clippers are taking over Los Angeles? Danny?
Yes. You know what? I mean, look back over the history of the Clippers. There's always been a very strong base of talent. Now, a lot of times it was young talent that needed to grow and mature and learn the league, but they've always had talented pieces. And, now those pieces are being held together, and there's a big commitment there to keep the veterans around. And, what you see is great basketball, and, they're playing exceptionally well.
What was it like when you first arrived for the Clippers, Danny? What was it like when you're the first overall pick in the '88 draft and everyone had their hopes and desires, and this is now '88, late '80s, when the Lakers were Showtime and all that business? What was it like?
Well, I didn't have anything to compare it to. I knew I would have a chance to be a professional basketball player, and I wanted to go out, help my team be successful, and show people that I belonged in that league, because I think it's the best basketball league in the world, and kind of go from there. But, as the longer you're in it and the more you see kind of how things went, you could tell that there was something wasn't quite right with that organization.
What so?
Excuse me?
How so?
Well, you just looked at all the turnovers that they had with coaches and with players, and there wasn't a lot of consistency in that regard. And, it makes it hard to be consistent in terms of your level of play and what you accomplish each and every year.
Danny Manning joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. And then in the middle of your season in '91, there was a firing. Mike Schuler was let go, and your old college coach, Larry Brown, comes in, and you wind up making the playoffs for the first time for the Clippers in 16 years. I'd love to get your recollection as to what happened in that later stages of the season and what you felt around this town when you put the Clippers in the playoffs. Danny?
Well, you know what? It was, a lot of work had gone into it. There are a lot of frustrations, and Coach Brown comes in, and he makes us a better team. And, he gets us to the playoffs, and that was a good feeling, because we thought we worked hard to put ourselves in that position or that situation. So that was something that we were very proud of at the time in terms of the direction that we were moving.
And then when you made the playoffs, this was in 1992, Game 4, you had to play down in Anaheim because of the riots. Isn't that correct? That
is correct. Yeah, that was kind of a surreal type feeling. Driving into the sports arena and seeing the National Guard and people walking around with rifles and guns, and it looked like it was in a movie scene, all the surrounding environment around the sports arena. I'm
with Danny Manning, Wake Forest head coach, currently longtime NBA player, 15 years in the association, with me here on the Rich Eisen Show. So what do you think the Clippers currently need to do with an expected series against Golden State, and seeing how they're splashing in threes, and Bogut perhaps holding down the middle in a way that DeAndre Jordan hasn't had to deal with, other than obviously one of Wake Forest's great players of all time? What do you make of that possible series?
Well, that possible series would be a lot of fun. I think the Golden State Warriors are definitely a team that likes to get up and down the court. I think the Clippers want to play that way as well. I think the Clippers have some very underrated perimeter defenders. I think they have some guys who can go out there and be a little bit of a pest throughout the course of the ball game, guarding the Warriors. But the Warriors are fun to watch, and so are the Clippers. They're two different teams. The Warriors are, they're coming off ball screens and pushing it up the court and shooting long, deep threes. The Clippers, Chris CP3 is doing a great job of directing that team and getting shots that he wants and making his guys effective. So it's going to be it'd be a fun series to see if it gets to that point. Hopefully it does.
Well, Duncan's current coach believes that hacking a player as many times as you possibly can is absolutely fine. It's within the rules, and that just because DeAndre Jordan can't shoot free throws doesn't mean that he shouldn't be able to hack him as many times as possible within the legal rules. You've played the sport now. You're a head coach. Where do you stand on the subject of hacking a player or just bear hugging him at any point during the game to get the ball back?
Well, Coach Pop has won quite a few championships, so I think it's kind of hard to argue with his mindset. You know, part of it is you know, it's gamesmanship, that's strategy, you're scheming, and you have to counterattack. You have to come back with your own game plan. And I think the biggest game plan for the Clippers would be for DeAndre to step up there and knock his free throws down. And I know he's going to get plenty of opportunity to do that as they continue to play. So he just got to get focused and getting into his routine and step up there and shoot the ball.
Well, what is it when you stand on the charity stripe? Is it just is that a mental thing? Because you could see he's going through a routine here. What could it possibly be?
I don't know. I don't know if he's got a mental block or it's just you know, not a good free throw shooter. I have no idea, but I mean, he's got to figure something out, and you know, because until he does, you know, that's always going to be a possibility of happening at any point in the game.
Danny Manning joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show, head coach of the Wake Forest Demon Deacons for about a year now. What is your relationship with Tim Duncan? Has he reached out to you since you're a head coach of his alma mater?
Yes, you know, Tim and I are in contact, and you know, he had another stellar year, and which is amazing. You know, I think he's the best power forward of all time in the game. But you know, he's very proud and supportive of the Demon Deacons, and you know, we always are bragging about him and happy that he's part of our history and tradition. And
how about reaching out to your old college coach and also with the Clippers, who's now at SMU doing his thing still, Larry Brown? How about that, Danny?
Yeah, Coach Brown and I, we see each other on the recruiting trail quite a bit. And, it's amazing. He's still going strong and doing a great job.
And again, he was the coach who put the Clippers, along with you, into the playoffs for the first time in 16 years back in the day. What would it mean, do you think, for the Clippers to win and get in the Western Conference Finals and begin to flip this town a little bit towards them some more, Danny? What would it mean?
Well, I think it'd be really good for the organization. Obviously, you know what? I think it's good for the NBA in general, because whenever you have dominant teams in your major media markets, there's more attention, there's more money, and it just the notoriety and the exposure just explodes. And so I think, you know, the city of LA would gladly welcome, you know, basketball to continue to be being played in the NBA, especially at the level and stage that's going to be on.
Danny, Coach Manning, I appreciate you calling in. Thanks so much.
All right, thanks a lot. Take care.
You bet. That's Danny Manning, at Coach D Manning on Twitter, right here on The Rich Eisen Show.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.